3, 4. You say you stand by your man. You tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me, and that's a fact. And then you left me.
Hello there, Tony Medley once again, and welcome back to my workshop. Today the project is for the beginners again, and it's going to be just a spindle rough and gouge. I've got a piece of beech here, a nice piece of beech. We'll get it to round, but first of all I must say, and I didn't say this on the first video, was that these videos are not intended to teach you turning from scratch. They are an aid, and are purely an aid on techniques. If you remember rightly, what I did say was I had asked a question about the camera angle, and also asked about somebody had asked, could we have some close-ups of the tools? And I thought, well, it's a good idea to make a beginners, because there is a lot of people out there who want to see how to make, or want to see the basics. And where I'm coming from here with this, what I'm going to say now is, they're not a substitute for tuition. I'll make a couple of recommendations what I would suggest you do if you're really going to go into turning. And first of all is get some lessons, or a lesson from a professional, a professional wood turner. And secondly, join a club. I'm in the Teesside Wood Turners Club, and honestly and truthfully, you will learn more from them than by yourself. What I find in our club, that you have a tendency that they're falling over to help you, and all they will give you is pure advice. Everybody will give you different bits of advice, and what I suggest that you go away and you use what you are comfortable and safe with. So everybody has a different style of turning. So anyway, without me rambling on too much, I'll just show you how to get a square piece of wood trued up in the lathe, made into a spindle, and a chuck and point on one end. So we'll do that in hopefully great detail, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Anyway, we'll get started. The first thing to do is to find the centre. Just mark an X. Make sure that we do it corner to corner, and mark an X into it. Right, once you've marked the X, we just need a hole punch to punch a little hole in the centre to get us started. Right, once you've marked the centre and used the punch on it, I find it best to use a couple of step centres. I think that's the safest way to do it. And obviously the little hole that you've made goes into the centre of the step centre. And I'm sorry if I'm in your way. Locate the hole what you've made with the punch. Make it nice and tight with your tailstock. Just tighten the tailstock up till it's a nice tight fit. Then I prefer, and this works for me, doesn't suit everybody's turn, but I like to cut on centre or just above. And as I've said in other videos, no more than 2 millimeters above centre height. So what we're going to do is put the tool rest up to just below centre, because your the cutting edge of your chisel is just above that. So if you get it so that there's not much gap, the least amount of gap that you've got, turn it round so that it's not catching, which that one is just slightly. Turn it so that you make sure everything's locked down. And what we're going to use to knock the corners off, you can, if you want to, you could take these off with your bandsaw. Just take the corners off, 10 millimeters either side. But for today's demonstration or video, I'm going to use the Spindle rough and gouge. Right, that is a Spindle rough and gouge. It's designed to be large so that you take plenty of bulk off it. Now, as I've said in the previous video, make sure that you've got a turn and smock on. Feet, I like to keep them about 20 inches apart. As I said in the last video, we must rub that bevel. And how I do it, it's not. I explained this in the last video. It's not about just moving it with your hands. It's all about balance. So what I try to do is get to the centre of the piece, the bottom of the chisel. I'll just move that down slightly so you can see what I'm talking about. So the handle is tucked deep into the top of your hip, and we're going to rub the bevel exactly the same as what we did last time. If you eye that up, that is about 2 millimeters above centre. Right, so what we're going to do is start in the middle and then pivot over to your left hand side. So it's it's technically uncomfortable, but then just transfer the weight from your left over to your right, and then you should end up at the other side. And that's what it's all about, transferring your weight from your right now over to your left and right the way down. So what we're going to do now is make sure it's locked down, put some safety glasses on. We're going to turn at about 1500 revolutions per minute, but making sure that we are all locked down. Turn the lathe on, and what we'll do, we'll build the speed up to make sure that it's nice and safe to do so. We've got it turning. That's at 520, sorry, 502, 600. There's no vibration in the lathe at all. Just starting to get a bit of vibration there. So that's at just over 1,000 revs. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a little bit off to try and get it into round, and then we'll be able to turn the speed up a little bit. So as I said, feet about 20 inches apart. Put the on the tool rest, put the chisel on the tool rest, and then put all your weight to the left hand side so that it's comfortable, and then move over to the right. That's right. So as far as you can go over to your left hand side, we're going to rub the bevel. Then we're going to start lift it down till it starts to cut, and then transfer the weight over onto your right, and right the way across, and transfer the weight back. Now I'm going to stop the lathe just so you can see. We'll have only taken a couple of millimetres off, but if you can see, what we're starting to do now is we're just starting to take the tops off. Now if you see what I mean, that's probably the most we're taking off, so it wasn't exactly in the centre, or the piece wasn't 100% square, but we're not taking as much off on this one. We've only took a little bit off on each corner. So what we'll try and do is we'll just close that up that slightest little bit on the one that hasn't been cut as much. Turn it to make sure that it's not going to touch, and then we'll start again. Remember, feet 20 inches apart. Start on the left hand side or the right hand side, but to its maximum. Right, let the bevel rub. That's the bevel rubbing there, it's not cutting. Lift it up and then start to transfer the weight, or your weight, over to the right hand side of your body. And at that point it's a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay because it's such a long piece of wood. Then start to transfer your weight back and just let the gouge do the work and come along. Now what you can do, you can cut it at an angle like that if you want, or that way. Just get my feet right, lift the bevel, lift the handle up and let the rub the bevel. But I prefer, to be perfectly honest, I prefer it like that. But you can turn it round and then you're using the full, the full use of the chisel, not just one bit. So right the way across. And we'll just have another look, and you'll see we've taken quite a bit more off. So you can see these, it's starting to go into the round shape. So we'll continue on until it is nice and round. So move over to the left hand side so that your body, or the weight, is at its maximum. Lift the handle slightly and as I said, you can turn it round so that you use it, or you don't have to just use it in the one point and then it's going to get blunt. So turn it round to use that part. Right, we'll just turn that lathe off and we'll just check again. It's starting to get into a more round shape now, so move that tool rest up. If you ever can put your finger in there, then you are too far apart from the wood. So you need to try and keep it as close as you can. Just turn it, make sure that it's not going to catch on your tool rest. Now you should be able to turn the speed up. So we'll turn it on. That's turning at about 1037. Just turn it up that little bit. That's 1100. There's still no vibration. Right, that's 1200 revs. So what I didn't explain was speed is actually your friend. You've got a lot less chance of getting a catch the faster it's going, as long as it's not moving the lathe about, and that's a lovely speed. That we'll take a little bit more and then we'll try and get it to about 1500 revs per minute. So as I say, feet 20 inches apart, move over to the left hand side, and it really feels uncomfortable. But as you get along, and you start transferring your weight onto your right hand side, it becomes a lot more comfortable. That's the most comfortable. Then over onto your, and then you start to feel that the weight's just too much, and then backwards and forwards. Now you can go faster, to be quite honest. I'm doing it just for the video. You can right, all I'm going to do now is turn the lathe off again. As you can see, it's starting to become nice and round now. So what we'll do, move it over a little bit, make sure that it's not catching. And what we're going to do now is start it up again. Now that's at 1,247 revs per minute. We'll try and get up to the 1,500, as I said before. That's at 1,500. Just make sure that it's still tight, doesn't move. Now you'll see the difference of the cut. It's a far better cut at 1,500 revs. So feet 20 inches apart, over onto the left hand side, and transfer the weight over onto your right. Right, we'll just stop that, make sure, see if it's round yet. I think it's just that little bit on the top, there we go there. But the majority is starting to get round. So, I don't think the tool rest needs to be in, well, move it in just slightly. You don't want it too close, but make sure that it's not touching, and we'll start it off. It's back up to about 1,500 revs, and as I say, don't lift the tool handle too far, because that makes it more of an aggressive cut. So all we're trying to do is make it nice and round. Right, just stop it again. Excuse me. There's just that little bit more there, but the majority is starting to come into the round shape. We should technically be able to turn the speed up even more. And we can go to about, we'll try it at say 1,800 revs. So we'll just turn that up. That's 1,800 revs, and you'll see it's just a lot more comfortable in cutting. Now what you can do if you wanted to, you can cut half. If you find it uncomfortable with balancing, so you can cut half just to there. If you find that more comfortable, by all means do that. And whatever I tell you, it's what you feel comfortable with. Everybody's got their own style of turning, and you will find that you just feel a little bit more comfortable with. So just take a nice smooth edge, try to get it as smooth as possible. Now I think that should be round. There's just that little bit left. Now what I didn't tell you, what you can do to see if you're turning your lathe off, you can, and you can feel it there. You can just put your finger on it, and you can feel it's nice and smooth. But when you get across here, can you hear that? And you can feel that there's that little bit. So all you want is that just that little bit more off there. think that's got it. Now, as in the name, it's only a rough and gouge. So you're just going to get it to roughly square or roughly... the great tools, to be quite honest, for getting rid of the bulk of the material. So now that we've got it to round, I like to get it into a chuck, just for safety reasons, as soon as possible. So what I do, I'll just get a pencil.